Alright, hello guys. I am back for another video. Let me go to minimize. So I played a game just now, and I thought that it was the perfect game to show for the next video for this whole thing I'm doing, I guess. Um, of course it was a fascist game. I don't know why I find myself in the most odd fascist positions ever seen. It just seems to be something that happens to me. But I just wanted to show it because the way the game went down was just absolutely uh, it was horrible for liberals, and we won because of it. And I think the way we won was kind of like just a teeny bit undeserved because it was just horrible for the liberals. So yeah, this is the game you're playing. It was 1, 2, 4, and 5 are all liberals, and then 3, 6, and 7 are all fascists. So traditionally, this is a hard game to win, and the fact that we won it means we obviously did something right. And I mean, as we go along, I can explain how things were right the way it was. I mean, it was kind of a hard game for the two liberals that were in power. Um, 2 and 5 are both liberals, but they weren't really helping the liberals win the game. So like 2 got picked on 1, 2 in Hitler's zone and didn't try anything. Don't think it would have mattered because if 1, 2 had played, it would have been no, it would have been RB. Yeah, it would have probably won the game for them because the way the things were going down. I'm pretty sure I can probably record the deck and show you how it was and see. Um, I'll probably make another video on it, like a part 2 video for this, or maybe I won't. Just depends on whether I'm feeling it, if I'm lazy or not. But yeah, so it was a very interesting game, but 2 didn't really contribute much. 5 was a conflict with 3, of course, because I had to put my fascists in somehow. And the way things went down were I played a little suboptimal, and the fact that I got away with it was a little weird too, because the way things went down probably shouldn't have went down the way they did. I mean, 7 was also really bad because he didn't say anything the entire game. He said maybe like 5 lines of chat as we went along. So the fact that we won with him was definitely a testament. So I mean, 3 and 6 definitely controlled the chat for most of it, and 6 was just absolutely terrific as a fascist. I mean, they were sounding liberal. If I was liberal, I would have thought they were liberal. They would have gotten me there because they were just the way they were talking was not the way a fascist would talk, and the way they were reacting to things were just not a way a fascist would react to things. I mean, it was just kind of a good thing. But so we first start the game in 1-5 plays, and it becomes our BB. So there's 2 blues down, so we're going to continue moving, and then 2-6 goes. And at this point, we were kind of claiming a little bit of like jokeful kind of things. So of course, you'll see a claim that was basically downgraded to a RRR triple claim after triple R, after like 2 seconds, because of course it wasn't going to be a conf that was going to stand up, even though it probably would have helped the game a little, to be honest. But yeah, so 2 gets triple reds and then claims that he had 2 blues and a red. Basically, we were all meaning that it was like 1-3-4. So then he said it was like, oh no, it can't be 1-3-4 because 2-6 conf. And then he said it was fake. And 6 took the opportunity to say that, 2 is fascist, blah blah blah. And it wasn't really the best liberal chat. I mean, the liberal chat comes later in the game, but I guess 1 was kind of like, oh yeah, I kind of like that chat a little because, I mean, as a fake comp that was immediately there, 6 stood up on it. I probably would have seen it as fascist early game because they just jumped so quickly to it. So yes, we continue going on, and 3-7 doesn't pass. Of course, 7 is yelling it. I guess it's kind of what he wants. 4-7 doesn't pass. Then 5-1 plays, and they get 2 blues again, and they claim it. And 1 was memeing a little. Well, no, he wasn't. Look at that. 5 was claiming that he had forced, which is very interesting now that we're looking back on it, because he didn't. He played the blue. So I guess that wasn't really good of 5 to be doing if they had 2 blues, and maybe that's why 1 was kind of inclined to like 3 later in the game. Now that I'm looking back on it, probably shouldn't choice there. Probably should force it. But it's the next play that goes on that basically starts the game into a downward spiral for liberals. So 6-2 isn't passing, right? Come on now, I'd like to see the votes. I'll keep skipping it. See, 6-2 isn't passing. Then 7-6 isn't passing, of course. And then 1 picks 3. And basically what had happened is 1 said he wants to pick someone who's going to conf him. I think he was joking. But as a fascist, I would take the opportune chance to say, hey, I'll conf you, because he could be joking to where he's like, oh yeah, he says he's going to conf me, I'll pick 4 now. But he wasn't, so I said, oh yeah, I'll conf you, and then I basically made the joke saying that if he claimed RRB, I would claim BB. If he claimed RRB, I would claim RB. If he claimed RRR, I would claim RB. Basically, I said I would conf him no matter what, and he was like, sure, I'm sold. He picks 3, and he allows it. See, he basically allows us to go through. It's a 5 blue deck at this point, and I have choice, and I play the blue because, I mean, I'm not going to give 1 the inv. If I give 1 the inv, I know 1-3 is a conf, which means that likely 4 will be able to play next, 4-5, and then 4-7. Maybe that would have been a better alternate route, or maybe it would have been 4-5, 5-6, SC4, but I think 4 would have picked 1 based on 1's chat. So it probably wouldn't have helped best for me to have that. So I don't take inv, and we 9-3, and 3 goes 3-5. And this is where it gets a little suboptimal of me to play the game. So up until this point, we've been playing the game to where 1 and 5 is blue, then 2-6 is red, 5-1 is a choice, 1-3 is a blue. So basically, I've given 1 3 opportunities for stuff, and he's played, blue, which means he's likely liberal to the entire table. And instead of taking him out, I kind of reinforce him, which is a little bit suboptimal of me because I know that he's going to get the SE so easily. Luckily he didn't, but I mean he still did, and even after that we were able to kind of shape this guy's behavior based on my pick and envying him liberal because I aimed him liberal and I told him I could have taken him out. So we'll continue going. I'll explain more of it later. So 3-5 plays, I get the last blue, and instead of playing it, I just drop. And then I claim it. So basically I conf 5, take 5 out of the game because, 4 says 5 didn't have a good reaction on 5-1. 5 didn't have many. So basically I'm saying that 5 had no good reaction, so if they're going to buy it, they might think I'm more liberal than 5 and shoot him or something later. So I knew I could take 5 out. But then I was like, okay, who should I take out now out of the last 2 liberals? I want to double dip. And instead of doing that and taking that more, take 2 liberals out, get 6-7 to play, I decided it was in my best power to inv 1 liberal, which was a little suboptimal because I know he's likely to get the SC, and I don't think he will be, as a green player, willing to cuckoo. So basically I picked it thinking that he might go 1-6 or 1-7, which is very likely because 4 had bad reactions. 4 was calling it. No, not 4, 5. 4 was calling 5 out on bad reactions. 2 was a triple red. Even though it's a 6 blue deck, he doesn't necessarily have to be lib because we could say that he's fascist. In that his RRR was justified, and that we only got a 6 blue deck because he's fascist with the 3 reds and all the liberals touched, which makes sense because in a traditional game I would probably be inclined to say that 2's fascist as well because of the way the deck went down. Of course, I would probably be calling 2 3x because 3 shouldn't be taking inv there. I don't think 5 is also giving it, especially in a position like this. There's three blues on the board. It's between a 4th blue play, which means that if this goes through, basically, if this 4 happens, this 4th blue happens, we know 5 is playing next, and 5 is likely to go 5-1, right? In that specific scenario, if 5 is fascist, confing 3 here gives 3 the power to inv someone, which is not really optimal for 5 to be doing, overtaking the inv next and claiming he had 3 reds, which is also really, really good for him because it's likely that he's going to get 3 reds. So I as a seat, anywhere in any other seat, I probably would have said 3 was fascist, but it didn't really work out that way. I mean, I aimed a liberal. He kind of bought into the whole facade. I mean, that's kind of how it goes. And then 4 picks 6. And this government was basically a timer vote. I basically stated I want to yaw 4, and it almost doesn't go through. So basically 1, 2, 4, and 7 all yaw. Then basically after that, what happens is since 3, 5 both 9 he fake confs, and then 6's reaction was just absolutely beautiful. She was saying it could be 1, 3, 4 because 3 is trying to shade off and give 6 another gov for 1, which means 1 could conf there and SC4 since 4 didn't pass. Then she was saying that 4 could be fascist trying to get 1 an easy SC. Basically, there was a lot of arguments with what 6 was saying that made 6 sound really good to 4. And as a liberal in C3, if 5 was actually fascist, I probably would have said that 6 was likely liberal too because the way 6 was chatting. I mean, It's hard to justify it, but that's kind of how it goes. So we all, at this point, it's a red, and we have to SC someone, and then 1, 3 are both SCing 1, 7 silent, 2 is silent, 5 is also SCing 1, because he says 1's the most liberal. Of course, that makes sense, because 5 isn't going to buy that 1 is fascist for nothing when he's playing blue on choice, and not taking inv on 1, 3. But with all this situation going around, um, 4 finally SCs 1, 2 SCs 1, and then 1 gets the SC. And then he picks 2, and by the graces of the gods, we get him to talk it out. So now this is where it's very interesting, because I'll show you why it was such a bad game. You'll see the bad game. So this is the start of a new deck, right? There's 12 cards, and now there's 9 in this deck, which means that 1 government passed, and according to 4, who 4 had the gov, it was RRR, or it was triple reds, right? So that's kind of how it works here. Okay? So now we're assuming it's 3B and 9. Or I know in my head it's 3B and 9, and 1, 2 is playing, which means if 1, 2 passes, then it's likely that it's going to be RRB. And then if it's RRB, that means we're going to 9, 5, 6, and 7. Top deck once, make it 5 cards left, which means there's 2 blues and 5. And then we're going to take 1, 2. Now, looking back on this now, it wouldn't work the second time because the next cards you would have gotten were triple red, and I'll show you what I mean when we get through. But likely what we're saying here is that if 1, 2 plays, or in my eyes, when I know the deck is 3 blues and 9, I think that 1, 2, top deck once 1, 2, is really, really bad. So I want to make sure that 1 doesn't take it, and by doing that, I ensure that we have at least a high chance of maybe a really good chance of getting the fascist policies enacted early. We also get it to where 1 can waste a gun, which is very possible as well. Because it's 3 blues and 9, it's a 33% chance of top decking blue, which is really good for us, which means it could probably top deck red. He wastes a gun, he can go 1, 4. And at this point, we were talking about 1, 4, 4, 6, or 6, 1, because 4 liked 6. So basically, I didn't see us having a really bad win con, because I was saying this. Basically, I was going around with 3, and we were kind of taking 1 out of it. So yeah, 3, 4, and 6 all worked together, which is funny because we took 4 and we threw him against another one of his liberals, and then 1, 2 didn't pass. No one yawed it. It was just 2 that yawed. And the reasoning was we said 2 is likely Hitler over 7, or that 2 and 7 both have Hitler, so why risk a 50-50 shot? Okay. Which comes in use later. So then 1, 2 doesn't pass, 5, 1 obviously doesn't pass, and 6, 1 doesn't pass as well. And then the top deck is blue. So now we know it's 2 blues and 8. It's a 25% chance on top deck for liberals, which could work out if they top decked. But no, we still have 2 guns. It's not veto zone. So why do that, right? But it's 2 blues and 8, which means it's likely that 1, 4 will pick up a blue. Very likely. And it's also likely that even if 1 plays and doesn't pick 4, if he picks 6 or something like that, then it has to cough. So it's likely that we won't win. So I was kind of skeptical there. I mean, that was kind of how it was. So I was a little off on it. So then we go to 1, and 1 picks 4. After talking in chat, we were saying that it'd be better for 1, 6, and I was only doing this because I know that 6 is fascist. And I know that if I can get 1 to pick 6 just once, maybe he won't shoot 7, he'll call like 3, 6x. He'll either yaw 4, 5, or he'll say maybe 3, 4, 7 is possible. I mean, because 4 was top decking to 1, 4, and he was okay with 6, and he was calling 6 liberal, and he might yaw like, after shooting 6, he would probably yaw 2, and maybe 2 will pick 2, 5, or 2 will pick 2, 7. So basically we were trying to get 6 picked, but it didn't work. And luckily for us, where it could have ended in a very tragic game, it was triple red, which means it's now 2 blues and 5, right? Yeah, 2 blues and 5, which is what we had stated before, which is very, very not good. Because if we top deck, it's likely to be blue. It's 40% now, and if we top deck twice, it's very likely that at least one of them will be blue. It goes from going to 40% to 50%, which is a growing liberal win rate that we do not want to have to deal with. But anyways, we get triple red, and by the graces of the gods, in the last 5 seconds, I think it's a 3-minute timer, in the last 5 seconds, we get 1 to shoot 5, so it's a 3v3. Then we say that the best thing to do is to yaw 4, and 4 wanted to top deck because he's liberal. That could very easily work for him. He could very easily call a top deck and take 1-4 in veto zone, because in this very specific case, if 3, so it's 3-6-7, right? It's a 3v3, which means fascist, literally the only way that we can win is if the top deck is red, and then it was top deck or red again. It's bottom, it's a 3 blue, it's like 2 blues and 3 at the very bottom, right? That's basically how it would go. Very unlikely. I mean, that's like a 2-3% chance of happening. So we don't want that to happen. I mean, that's kind of how the game will essentially work here. And if we top deck once, that means we're playing 1-4, which means 3, 6, and 7 will have to out. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen. So basically what had happened in this chat is I had stated that basically in my mind I was thinking, even though it would out me completely, I know that in this very specific case I was hard against 7 and I was hard against 2. Okay, one of them is fascist, one of them is Hitler indeed, and one of them is a liberal. And 3 and 6 were basically on each other's ever-living, like, we were on top of each other. It was just no way to get around it. We were so far up each other's asses, it's just not funny. So basically what happens is if 4 picks 6 in a comps or 4 picks 3, it's likely he's going to shoot the other one. And in that very specific case, since it would be 6-7-1, 4 isn't playing in veto zone again, which means that 1 will have to pick in 2-7, because one of the other will be in conf with 4. And it's a 50-50, which is a very good gambit for us, because that means if 1 gets, one will be yawed. In this very specific case, it's a veto zone government, which means basically what will happen is that there's 1 shot. No, there's 2 shots, which means it'll be just 2-1 again, and then they would 9 and probably top deck if it's triple red. Because at that point, they're not going to yaw in 3-4, or they're not going to yaw in 4-6. Likely not to happen. So yeah, that very specific case, I was thinking in my head on the gambit, since it's a 50-50 gambit, and it's also a 50-50 gambit on also getting RBB here, and there's other likes and all this other junk. I decided to tell 4 that he's going to take his government for the sole reason that if 4 is fascist after a 1 top deck blue, in which case we've only seen 1 blue and 7, which is also a very good argument to make as liberal. It means that if 1 is actually fascist who dropped a blue in the first thing, got lucky for the top deck blue, and then there's 1 blue and 5, it means that 4 can take a 1-4 government in veto zone, and he can make it a fascist win, which is very plausible. If 4 is fascist here, he's going to want a top deck because he knows he gets 1-4 in veto zone, and there's only 1 blue and 5. So he knows he's likely going to take that win, right? I mean, the only way he loses is if it's top deck blue. So in my eyes, I have to argue that. So I tell him he's taking his government because if it's 4-5x and he shot 5, then I lose to 4 being red. And I say that if it's 4-5, 2-4-5, 4-5-7, either one of those are likely to be possible, which means he has to take his government here. And he was talking, and he didn't think that 6 and 7 were more likely to be CNH, so he picks 3, which I would have loved to have him pick 7, because 7 was kind of being shaded. So if he thinks that 3-6x is possible, and that's why he wants to top deck, he could take 4-7, which will be a hail. It's still a loss, but it's better for us. I mean, it seems better for him if he's calling 3-6x, because 3-6 are so hard against 7 that it could be just 1-3-6, right? I mean, you could pick 4-2 as well, which is also very good, because that means 4-2 happens. And if he picks 4-2 also, there's no way I can say he's not allowed to shoot 7. Because in that case, that means he literally has to shoot 7 in order for us to say that he's liberal. I can't say he can shoot 1, which means he'd have to, on his own volition, shoot 1. And if 2 is CNH, and he thinks that 3-6 doesn't have Hitler, and he knows, and he thinks we're liberal in this very specific case, or he doesn't think it's 1-3-6, and he thinks 1 is liberal, he's going to shoot 7, and we lose. So that's I think 4-2 is also a very good critical thing. So basically, I'm counting the mistakes for liberals. I can tell you what they did wrong. It's going to be like another 20-minute video. I can tell, like, Jesus Lord. But 4-3 happens, and it passes, of course, because we force him to take his government. And I kind of explained to 1, and 1's sheeped completely by 3. And he gets 3 reds. So now it is confirmed a blue bottom deck with 2 blues on the bottom. He didn't find a single blue laced in this case. He didn't find a single blue, 1 didn't find a blue, and the only blue that was found was the one that was top decked. So in this very case, 4 is looking absolutely horrendous to 1. So what we get to do here is we get to say, all right, 4, you look pretty damn fascist here, which means you get to listen to what 1, 3, and 6 want. And 3 and 6 both want shot on 2, and because 1 is kind of thinking that 3 is a liberal, forcing this government, and then calling 4 out, and 4 is trying to, prevent 3-6 from winning, I guess, the way his chat was, he decides that we're going to shoot 2, which is exactly what happens. He shoots 2. So now, as you can tell, in this very specific case, it is 2 liberals against 3 fascists, and it is a majority. It is a very, very bad liberal game, because that means 6, 7, and 3 have no way to lose it. We only lose by top decking, and even then, the top deck is really, really bad too, because the deck was all the reds on top and the last 2 blues on the bottom again, which was just absolutely, the RNG for this game was horrible. I mean, I've never seen it worse, and I can explain now real quick as we're going back. It's likely to result in a loss as well, because that means we have a 75% chance of winning, I think, right? Yes, 75% chance. Because what will probably end up happening is if 1-2 actually does play, then it's going to get RRB, in which case it'll be 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. We will top deck once. In this case, we'll top deck from 4 to 1, so 5, 6, and 7. It's 1 red because it was confirmed it was RRR. Then 1-2 will play again, and because in this very specific case it was 5 cards left, and it's a blue bottom deck, it means that it's going to be confirmed 1-2 is triple reds, which means 4 looks absolutely horrendous here. 5 is in comp for 3, and 4 calls 6 liberal. So if 3, 6, and 7 both say that they want a shot on 4, it's unlikely that 4 won't be shot. In this very specific case, 2 didn't really have much of reads in 3, 5, which means you could probably pick in 6, 7 in this very specific case. They'll probably pick 7 in this case, actually, which means it's likely to win anyways. And because that would probably play, or a fascist will likely get into gov next, because 4 is shot and 5 is conf, it is very likely that we will win, because 1 is term locked. So, I mean, it's just, I don't think liberals had much of a win con here, because the deck was just absolutely horrible. I mean, I'm kind of sharing it because sometimes you're going to have games like this, and I'm going to say as a disclaimer now that it's not your fault that you lost, because I mean, in this very specific case, liberals had such a high win rate, and they lost to the deck. I mean, if 4-3 comps, it's likely that they're not winning. It's a 50-50 gambit, where 3 was hitting hard on 2-7, and 4 is still alive, which means 4 has input over the fascist that is dead in 3-6. And because 4 is confing one of them and shooting the other, possibly, that means the conf is still alive, and now they basically have to basically argue as to why up to picking 2-7 is good, and that's kind of hard to make. I mean, it's just kind of how it is. The deck was really bad for them. That's basically about all. I mean, there's not much I want to comment on this. It was just kind of a really bad game, and sometimes we have games like that, and I mean, I just want to share it. I mean, that's a pretty good fascist win rate. Someday I will have a lib game to show you guys, I promise. Right now it's not happening because I can never find a good lib game to share. It's never worth it. I mean, they're all pretty just boring standard procedures, so I had to find one that's like, oh yeah, a lib game that we won that probably shouldn't have won or something. Or a lib game where it was like out in lines and it was like really close. I don't know. Something worth presenting, I guess. Only quality content for the subscribers. Or viewers. But yeah, that's about it. I think that's all I have to say. It was nice recording this video. I'll make another one soon if I have another presenting video. So yeah, with that, I'll see you guys all next time.